What's going on, everybody? We are in Midfield, Alabama. This is a typical rental area, but we are going to talk to someone who's flipping this house, and you won't even believe the price point he's going to flip it at. Stay tuned. So we are out here in Midfield with Nick Eldridge. Nick, how's it going, everybody? Tell everybody who you are and what you've been up to in real estate.
All right, everybody. I'm Nick Eldridge. I'm a real estate investor, licensed home builder in the state of Alabama. We flip houses, got a few rentals, and we do some new construction as well. Like Brian said, we're in the Midfield area at one of our flips. We're about to go live on Thursday, so just getting our punch list items knocked out. Got a couple final inspections to finish up, and we're going to get this thing ready to go to another family.
Awesome. How long have you been doing real estate, Nick?
About 3 years.
Okay.
Yep.
What got you into real estate?
So my mom did real estate back in the day. She was did a lot of rentals, so kind of grew up working on her rentals and everything like that, and never really got to see the numbers. I was always just kind of cutting grass and painting and hanging sheetrock, kind of doing all the little side work. But once I got a little bit older and saw the actual numbers of real estate and the type of returns that you can earn and the actual benefits of owning real estate, that's when it kind of piqued my interest, and I decided to jump in by myself.
Awesome. And now you're flipping houses.
Yes, sir.
And you are doing it in Midfield, Alabama. And
Yes,
I'm just being honest. I've had some rentals over here.
Mm-hmm.
I've never flipped a house over here. So walk us, do a little walkthrough, kind of show us what you've been doing. And I also want to know, kind of as you're talking, like, why did you decide to flip out here?
Okay.
And not hold as a rental?
Okay. So yeah, we'll go ahead and walk y'all through. So this one, we got it from a wholesaler, paid about $35,000 for it. At the price point that we had it at, it could have went the other way, could have used it as a rental. But seeing some of the comps in the area, seeing what's kind of selling around the area, we thought we'd be able to make a good return trying to flip it first. With it being in the Midfield area, we're gonna have no issues if, say, we can't sell it, putting a renter in here and then just refinancing. So that was kind of the extra strategy. We always had a backup plan. So initial plans to flip it. If not, we could rent it. We know it'll rent all day and we'll be able to refinance and still pull our money out.
Gotcha. So give us a walkthrough. So
Okay.
let's talk about the flooring. What flooring kind of do you have, and why did you choose this flooring?
So this flooring, I think it's $2.50 a square foot. It's LVP. We did LVP throughout, same flooring throughout. The reason we did this flooring is because, like I said, the backup extra strategy. So if we were to rent it, this is typically the flooring we throw in rentals. Just it's a lot more durable than putting carpet in the bedrooms and all that. And that's the main reason we chose it, just because of the extra strategy. Mm-hmm. And I think it looks pretty good.
The windows, some of the windows look new. Did you have to?
We did all new windows on this one.
All new windows, and that's typically a really expensive thing to do. Mm-hmm. You mind kind of walking us through some of those numbers as far as like what the flooring? You said $2 a foot.
It's $2.50 a square foot. This is a 1,700 square foot house, so I think we around $4,000 in material for this house for the flooring. The windows, I think we did about 13 windows on this one. We were about $4,000 for the windows, so not too bad. We were able to save some money by using the new construction style windows with the standard sizes. So these are 404s over here. That's the nominal sizes. So 4 foot by a 4 foot window, and in the bedrooms we did 3050, so 3 foot by a 5 foot window, your standard window. So using those standard sizes saves a little bit of money, even if you have to frame it in a little bit.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Awesome. And then the kitchen. Tell us about the kitchen. Why you decided it looks like all new appliances. You got some granite countertops.
Yep. So
tell them about the cabinets as well.
The cabinets, just got them from Home Depot. Didn't want to overdo the area. Like I said, we're in the Midfield area. It's typically a rental market. So in these type of areas, you're not going to want to probably spend $15,000 on the kitchen, because you're most likely not going to get your money back. So this is about a $7,000 kitchen with the cabinets, the granite, and the appliances. So we're able to keep the cost down. I think provide a nice product. It still looks clean and everything like that, and a family could come in here and enjoy the space.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
This looks like a big room back here. Kind of take us through the rest of the house if you want.
Yeah, so back here, it originally was like this. This is like a big den. We got our laundry room right there. So I kind of see somebody putting a couch, maybe a TV on the wall here, TV on the wall, however you want to set it up. But we ended up closing up 2 windows here just because I believe we had enough windows with these back windows right here, and then to give people multiple options as far as how they want to set up the house. You can do TV over there, you can do TV over here. It all depends on what you want to do. Yeah. So it just gives people a little bit more options, and I think we already had enough windows.
And then you've got, you said laundry room here, new water heater.
Yep, new water heater. Like I said, everything's pretty much brand new. We got a couple things we're finishing up. We got our final inspection, so my electrician's on the way over here to finish up that panel, meet with the inspector, get everything signed off. But everything's pretty much brand new on this house. New roof, we did a new deck, new flooring, new windows, all new electrical, all new plumbing. Pretty much everything you see is gonna be brand new. Awesome. New lights and everything, so I think we did a pretty good job. Took a little bit longer than we anticipated. Ran into a few issues, so we'll kind of keep.
What kind of issues did you run into?
So when originally we bought the house, it's a slab foundation and it had cast iron piping. So originally we thought we'd be able to keep the drain lines and just run new PEX water supply lines. But when we went to go do our pressure test, those cast iron drain lines weren't holding pressure, so we had to actually trench it out, and we ran new PVC drain lines throughout. So
what was that? Do you remember what that cost you?
I got a really good price on that.
But that was an added expense, though, right? That wasn't something you anticipated.
Yeah, so it was $3,500. $3,500. Yeah. So every line you see, we ran new drain lines. So we ran 3-inch PVC to all the toilets, and all the way to that bathroom. Then we ran new 2-inch for our kitchen sink and our laundry room. Yep.
And then here's the master bath.
Yep. So here's the master bath. A small bathroom size window in here, and didn't go crazy on the finishes. Did a toss around. Like I said, you got to know what area you're in, and you don't want to over improve. You just want to try to provide a nice product that you think people will enjoy to use and they can see themselves living here.
Awesome. Can we go outside?
Yeah, we can go
I want to talk about the numbers, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we can talk about all the numbers.
All right, perfect.
This is it. We can go out the back door, take a look at the deck.
Yeah, let's take a look at the deck.
Still waiting on
Okay, so you put a new deck on it?
Yep. It's a 12 by 25. And originally, this house had a lot of stuff going on. It had a shed back there on that pad that was all falling down. They had a covered porch here that we ripped off and then had to redo the deck as well. And then they had some type of sunroom right here on this pad on the back of the house that we ripped off as well. So, out here wasn't a lot to do. Like I said, we did all new service, so have all that stuff situated there. And y'all can hear our friendly dogs in the background. But yeah, that's pretty much it on this one.
Are you going to do anything to the yard back here?
The only thing was just the big demo. And we have I'll shoot the original pictures. Maybe you can include them in your video or something like that. But like I said, a big, huge building here, had glass and coverage, and then a big shed right here that was covered that we took off. And then we had a old playground and stuff right here. We took all that kind of stuff out.
Gotcha.
Did a new roof as well. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yeah.
That was another expense I didn't initially plan on doing, but I think for the longevity of the property, and if we plan on keeping it as a rental, I think it'll add the value. Perfect.
Let's go out front so we can get away from this angry dog.
Yeah, he doesn't like us, huh?
We'll talk about the numbers. All right, Nick. So let's walk me through the numbers a little bit. You've kind of already given us a tour, and you kind of told us what you were kind of spending along the way. But give us the overall numbers. What'd you buy it for? Yeah. What are you putting into it total, and what do you think you're gonna sell it for?
Okay, so we bought it for $35,000. We initially budgeted about $55,000. Ended up putting about $67,000 with the extra items that came up, like the roof, the plumbing that I already mentioned. And then I think we're gonna list it at $189,000, and I think we'll be pretty close because we've already had a good amount of interest and everything. So I think we'll be close to that $189,000 mark. And go ahead.
That's a big spread.
Yeah. I mean, most people don't think you can make a spread like that, but the comp support it.
Okay.
I don't know why people are afraid of these type of areas.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because that's kind of, I think, the question that a lot of people would want to know. We're in Midfield, and Midfield is not a bad area. Yeah. There are way worse areas than Midfield, for sure. And then this street, a lot of brick houses, a lot of, everyone's keeping their yard up. I don't see any vacant houses. This isn't a bad area by any stretch. Yeah. But when you say 189, A lot of alarm bells start going off for probably me,
Yeah.
for a lot of other people. It's like, wait a second, 189, because I remember, and it's been many years, where I was getting rental property over here and for 35,000.
Yeah.
Right, and then it's renting for 850, and that's a good return, right?
Yep.
But you're now telling me that the ARVs out here, the after repaired values, is going upwards of 200,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to think for something like that. This is 1,700 square feet, so we're not talking about a crazy price per square foot. We're talking about 100 to 110 per square foot in an area like this. So think about the cost to build. I mean, you couldn't build the house for that. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So in these areas, I think you just got to know your numbers. You got to look at the comps. You got to see what's selling, and then obviously with the street like this, being right behind the elementary school, it gets a lot of traffic. They can't exit out that way, so they have to drive down this way. So once we put our sign in the yard, we'll get a lot of interest that way, because it'll be all those parents, all those kids driving by, thinking about, I could live right next to my school.
So you mentioned earlier you've kind of been involved in real estate since a young age, because your mom, and that's actually how we met, because I know your mom.
Yep.
And if you go way back to when we were the Alleria Masterclass podcast back in 2017, I actually interviewed your mom and did a podcast episode with her. So that would have been 8 years ago. So you've known real estate, you've been around it, but you went out of state and played football.
Yes, sir.
You finished college and you came back here and you just had a regular job for a long time. And then you got maybe reintroduced into real estate. Had you always known you were going to do real estate? Kind of take us through that journey a little bit.
Yeah. So for me, I always tell people, like, I always knew I was going to do real estate. Like I said, I did play football. I originally wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be an emergency room physician. And that's what I was studying. I was studying biochemistry, all that stuff. So, but I always thought, the career that I was going into, I was like, I just want to make money so I could buy real estate. And every career that I thought about, I would actually enjoy. It always led back to real estate. So for me, it seemed like that's where I was going to be happiest. That's where, these long days don't really feel like work, because it's something that you enjoy. So for me, I just made the decision that, all right, every career that I've thought about doing or actually gotten into, it's all going to lead back to real estate. I just should do real estate full time.
Why is that, you think? Why was everything going to lead back to real estate?
For me, I think it had a lot to do with my mom. Like I said, seeing her grow her business, from nothing to like over 50 properties. So seeing that and seeing what's possible if you just stay dedicated, and then actually seeing the numbers, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't able to see the numbers when I was a kid, just working, just cutting grass, painting and stuff like that. But as I got older, did more research and saw the numbers behind the real estate, it all kind of made sense. Like, okay. And then we were able to use the tax advantage. It's just a lot of benefits.
Take me back to the first deal you did.
Okay.
Do you remember the first deal that you kind of did on your own?
So on my own, it was a house in Hueytown. It was a 3-bed, 2-bath. It was 1,400 square feet. I bought it for $80,000. We put about $60,000 into it, and we sold it for $221,000. It took 7 months total. That was like my first deal on my own.
But how did you, if you're obviously you knew real estate a little bit, you grew up with it, so to speak, but how'd you find that deal? How'd you find the money? How did you bring the whole thing together to make it work?
So for that deal, it was off market. So a wholesaler sent it to me, and we went and looked at it. It looked decent, and I had already been reaching out to lenders and everything, like seeing what they kind of required and everything like that. And then my mom actually sent me one of, to Jay Benoit. She sent me his information. I gave him a call, and he said he would lend on. He was just starting up his I guess like a hard money company and everything like that. So had the money, and then thought I had the right contractor. Ended up having to fire a contractor. But I think every real estate investor goes through that. If you don't hire a bad contractor, are you really an investor?
I've hired my fair share.
There you go.
And probably your fair share too.
Yeah.
Someone else's fair share too.
So initially fired the first contractor, got the contractor that I'm working with now, finished it up, and then we've just kind of been rolling from there. Yeah. And then,
What kind of, what period, how long ago was that?
That was last year.
You're just, you just did your first deal on your own last year.
Yeah.
Okay. What are some of the challenges that you've had to face just up until this point?
For me, I think, so I kind of got too aggressive last year. We bought, I think 5 houses in about 3 months. So I wouldn't do that again. I didn't have the teams and the systems to kind of manage all that. So that's why these projects ended up taking a lot longer.
Right.
And I was still working my full-time job at that point. So that's kind of the biggest challenge. Not having a team or not having the systems and process to keep these projects rolling efficiently and get them to the finish line. So that's one thing I've been working on now, just to try to really nail out the teams and the system. And that's where I've been able to see success over the last 6 months.
Can you give us maybe an example of team, system, some stuff that you're actually like working on right now?
Okay, so I'm using Company Cam now.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, Company Cam. It's like a project management software, but it allows you to take videos, pictures, assign tasks, checklists, and you can add all of your subs and your employees in there. So implementing that has increased my organization, and then by that increased efficiency as well. And then we talked about team. Like I said, bringing my mom, she's a real estate broker, so she kind of helps me out as far as like ARV, we're running comps and everything like that. So I think as far as having a good team, and then obviously, talking with people like you, joining your mastermind really helped last year, because I think I joined around June or July.
Yeah.
So that really helped me out, being able to talk to people who have experience in the field. You know what I'm saying? They can really point you in the right direction.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I'm glad you did. Just, being able to be around other people obviously is a big benefit. Why else did you, why would someone join a mastermind? Why would someone go to the meet? Because you've been to the meetup groups too.
Yeah.
Why would someone do all those things?
I think, everyone's going to have their own reason, but I can just speak for myself. For me, I wanted to accelerate the path. So, seeing what the bigger guy, Matthew Gregory, I've seen you do interviews with him, seeing what he's been able to do over 25 years, build this huge operation, being able to get in close proximity with guys like that, you know what I'm saying? That's, for me, that was the value that it was providing.
Yeah.
Because now you're able to talk to someone who's probably made millions of mistakes, you know what I'm saying? And try to avoid the mistakes that he's made.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So we're over here in Midfield, and you've got a project going on in Norwood. You've kind of done a lot of projects over. So take us through it, because I think you had one in Inslee as well.
Yeah, so 2 rentals in West End. We sold one of them, and then we got another one in West End. We're about 50% done. But fixing that one up, and then just gonna keep it as a rental.
Yeah.
And then bought a house in Norwood. It's about 70% there. We'll probably go there next. And then one more. Oh, the Hueytown house, but we sold that one.
So Midfield, Hueytown, Inslee. I haven't talked to a lot of people yet that have been doing, not this saying that people aren't doing stuff over here. People are obviously making money over here. But just kind of talk about why you chose the niche of being in Hueytown and being in Midfield and being in Inslee. What was the appeal? Was it just because you had experience over here? Why initially did you come to this part of town?
Yeah, so for me, I lived in Midfield for about 3 years. I lived in Eldridge, so I kind of lived on the west side for the past 10 years or so, or since probably the past 8 years. So for me, like, having that extensive market knowledge, knowing the good streets, knowing the bad streets, that helped. And then I knew my price point as well. I kind of wanted to stay under that $250,000 mark.
Why is that?
For me, I think that's where we're going to start trending. I just think it's a lot of people who can't afford, especially interest rates today, those $300,000+ houses. And I think, there's a need for a nice renovated product under $200,000.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I saw my business model being. And I know I was able to find some success already, and I'm just going to try to continue with that.
This is such a heavy rental area. You've already mentioned that. There are comps out there that suggest that you'd get 189 for this. Is that kind of the route? And I know you mentioned that your backup plan was to rent it out. Right. You prefer not to, probably. But what is that kind of like? I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, what are we missing? What am I missing? Because I haven't been over here in a long time. I feel like I'm missing a lot, and there might be a lot of people out there who are just kind of, maybe they've been sleeping on these areas right here.
Yeah.
Is there anything, maybe advice or anything that you would kind of share?
I think I would talk to people. So what really boosted my confidence is, a quarter mile away. They're selling for 200, and it's the Fairfield. It's the same zip code. It's Fairfield Highlands. It's 35228 though. Talking to other investors in the area, that's really going to be able to boost your confidence. So like when you go in the West End and you talk to your buddy and he just got his appraisal back at 195 for a 3.2. I mean, who would not have confidence after that? You know what I'm saying? So I know if I buy a house for 35 and we're all in for 80, you know, even if it appraises at 160, you know what I'm saying?
It's great margins.
Yeah.
It's great spreads.
You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of people just kind of have that preconceived notion like, oh, it's a bad area. You're not going to make your money back. But if you do the numbers right, that's all that really matters.
I think, you know, a lot of people have, you know, they're watching, and I love Matthew. They're watching the Matthews. They're watching, you know, kind of maybe the house flippers that are out there, kind of have themselves out there.
Yep.
And I don't know too many who are doing it that have themselves kind of out there, put themselves out there. I know you're starting to.
I'm trying.
So, and that's probably going to help. Do you think that would be a good thing for more people to come over here and start flipping houses?
Yeah, I think.
For you?
Yeah, I think more comps. You know, that's only going to help the area out. And like I said, there's enough deals over here. I've never, you know, been in competition with anybody like that. There's enough houses for everybody. So yeah, I would encourage everybody to, you know, start looking in some of these areas because, like for me, Hoover, Vestavia, Homewood, they're very competitive. You know, all the flippers want to be over there. Yep. Everyone who wants to live in a nice area, they want to be over there as well. Yep. So it's, you know, you just got to find a way where you can make money and you can still provide a nice product for a family. And I think that's the biggest thing with flipping.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to go look at another house.
Yeah, we can look at Norwood.
Nick's going to take us to Norwood, so stay tuned tomorrow, and we're going to have another video out. We're going to go to Norwood, which is the north part of Birmingham, and we're going to look at another flip that Nick has. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, see you guys tomorrow.
All righty.